So we are now in I think our ninth video, and I'm going to jump in right where I left off. So if it doesn't make any sense to you, if you're lost, you probably want to see the ones before, or just look at the channel. This now starts to recount the day that I met number 7, and it happened to be June the 18th, Saturday. And I wish I could remember why that date was important to me back then, but I don't. However, the number 18 has become important to me since then, but that is for another day. That morning, I drove to the location where the charter bus was, and there were a bunch of people there. I gave my ticket. I forgot how I got it, whatever, it doesn't matter. And here's the thing, I knew who number 7 was the second I stepped onto that bus. I go up the steps, and then in front of you, when you will go into the bus, there's the driver. You turn left, face left, and now you're looking down the aisleway in the middle. On either side there's a bench, and she was sitting in the very front row left with a girlfriend of hers. And she was very attractive, Colombian, very dark black hair, and they were chatting with each other. They did not glance at me. I remember that. And I walked right on by. I briefly glanced at them, and I think I found a seat on the aisle side on the left, about halfway down the bus. I have to make an important point here. To me, at that time, I thought that I had been obedient to what God had wanted me to do, which was go through these 7 women, and that the 7th one was for me. This was the one that God had for me. So that's what I had in mind. So I'm sitting with my left arm on the armrest that is toward the aisle, and my elbow is probably sticking out a little bit into the aisle. I didn't notice. And I'm trying to pay attention to whoever was next to me, they're trying to engage me in conversation. I'm talking to the person next to me. All of a sudden, and we were like blocks away. We hadn't even really started the trip. We were still in town as far as I know. And all of a sudden, I felt this hard shoving, brushing by, and on my elbow, and it was that girl, because I looked back and it was a girl I'm looking at her behind, passing me. She had brushed me pretty firmly with her hip, so I made sure I kind of moved my elbow a little bit in more toward me. I guess there was the bathroom back there. I don't know. And I'm still talking to whoever's next to me, and all of a sudden, on the way back, she does it again. Like this time, it was too obvious to miss. And then she continues to move up the aisle and sits in her seat. Remember that my mindset is, this is the one God has for me. So unlike how I behaved with the previous 6, which I never ever initiated anything. They all, from start to finish, came after me, initiated communications, when to hang out, etc., etc. Nothing did I ever start. But this one was different. So we're on this highway, and we stop at a rest area. Everyone gets out. I get out, and I go to the restroom, whatever. I come back. People are starting to file back into the bus, and then we're in a line to get in, and finally when it's my turn, I go up the steps again. There's the driver, face left. Her and her girlfriend are there, and they kind of look at me this time, and I don't know, I introduced myself, I said hi, whatever. They immediately engaged, both of them engaged me in conversation, and then it wasn't very long, a couple of 3-4 minutes, I don't know, when the girlfriend excuses herself and goes down toward the back, like toward the restroom, I guess. And the girl, number 7, immediately pats her seat, her now empty seat next to her, and bids me to sit next to her. To give you an idea, this could be the bus, although it was a little older bus, so there were bench seats and not bucket seats. She sat here, and then she bid me to sit next to her, and we talked for quite a few minutes, and then her girlfriend starts coming back back from the back to the front, so I had to give up my seat, but they just kept riding. They didn't intend for me to leave. Now, in front of this bench is a guardrail right here, and then the driver would be forward of the right side over here. So I just got up and I went to the forward part, and I just leaned against the guardrail. And it was interesting because although the driver was trying to make sure everybody else was sitting down, they never said anything to me. So I chatted with both of them until this was hours long bus ride until we arrived at the theme park we were going to. Long story short, she made sure that I stayed with them. Now, there's a few little things I want to say. One thing I want to say is, which is why it began my confusion with that I thought this was the one. A, because it was number 7, but B, remember in the previous video I talked about how the story, the book of Hosea and Gomer and all that in the Bible. And well, one of the things that we sat through was a dramatic, it was a drama. It was acting out the story of Hosea and Gomer. So it was just too much for me. It was like, there's no way this is a coincidence. I want to digress a little bit more here. Before I got on this bus and met number 7 and went on that trip, there was a gap between number 6 and number 7. A few months, actually. Like 3 months or more. Maybe more than that. And I had started going to this church, and I want to say, I'm sorry for the use of the term, but there was a gaggle of girls who liked to hang around me. I think I had started learning how to dance. They had this Saturday night dance class experience and so forth, and that's where I met all these girls. And I was the only guy that would walk in and ask them to dance while we were waiting for the class to start. All the other guys were lame. They would not ask the girls to dance. So they loved hanging around me. And the day of the trip, they thought that I was going to be hanging around them. But I didn't. I was hanging around this number 7 and her girlfriend. I remember at one point we went into another exhibit, and I got there a little late or something. I was separated from number 7 and the girlfriend. And I had ended up sitting on the floor. There wasn't any room. It was full. Well, the gaggle sits around me. This whole thing was surreal to me. I was not used to any of what I'm telling you. I'm not a player, never have been. This stuff was just surreal. So I don't even remember the exhibit. I'm thinking about how do I get back to, spending some time with number 7. Well, the exhibit's over. We all get out. We file out, and I'm telling you, in hindsight, girls play games. Everybody. The girlfriend and number 7 start walking our way, and they get away from me, and I'm surrounded by the gaggle. And maybe it was a test, I don't know, but it sure now seems like it was all planned in a certain way. You'll see. I'm watching number 7 and the girlfriend disappear almost out of sight. And the gaggle can tell that I'm interested in number 7 because they immediately, start calling my name. Hey, I thought you came with us. I thought you were going to hang out with us, and this, that, and the other. And they were kind of loud about it. Right around that time, I see this arm go up, which was number 7 in the distance, and she just kind of waves. So I had to make a choice right then. Am I going to stay with the gaggle or go to number 7? So I went with number 7. Before I continue, I wanted to bring some points out. All the girls in the gaggle were between 28 and 34, more or less. I was in my early 50s. There were a bunch of guys on the bus. I wasn't the only guy, not by far. And in our group, the eldest one other than me, the next oldest other after me would have been maybe late 30s at the most, and then all the other ones were younger than that. But the gaggle wanted to hang around me, and as far as I can recall, no other guys were even in the periphery with the gaggle. And I've chalked it up to this theme that God was doing with me, where He was getting me used to the idea that it's possible to be in a relationship with a girl who's much younger than me. The next point I wanted to bring up is that girls who are used to getting guys' attention have developed those skills over years. And number seven's male attraction skills were they were on a different level than any of what the gaggle could come up with. And they captured she captured my attention and kept it. I should have seen red flags regarding number seven, but I didn't at the time. And it's only after having more experiences with women, specifically my current relationship, that I now see the red flags. I'm going to stop right here in the story and take up the rest of it, I guess, in the next video. So we are pretty much done with the trip. We are going to get back on the bus and return home. And that's where we'll start the next video.